Hello and welcome to the Broadway Q&A presented by Playbill and The Growing Studio. I'm Danny George. Every Monday and Wednesday, we chat with Broadway directors, choreographers, music directors, composers, lyricists, and more. Every Friday, we are joined with faculty from America's leading musical theater colleges. This week is Otterbein and Kent State. Please join us tomorrow, Thursday, for The Great Not So White Way, where we talk with actors of color about their experiences in the industry and the inequities that they faced. Make sure you're following Playbill and The Growing Studio on Instagram for the latest information on all of our upcoming guests. Now, today's guest is one of the most prolific directors working on the Broadway stage. His work spans from some of the most beautiful revivals to new work and mega productions, including Hairspray, Carousel, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and many more. When I first asked Jack to do this Q&A, I told him I wanted to do it because he's an icon of the American theater, to which he responded in shock and humility. It is that humility that makes someone so fantastic and so great. I am so excited to welcome Jack O'Brien today. Jack, are you there?
I'm here. You can't believe how here I am. Socially distanced beyond measure, obviously.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Central Park West in my little apartment with my two Norwich Terriers and not another three-dimensional person in sight.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least you got the dogs.
I do have the dogs.
Now, if any of our viewers would like to ask Jack a question, just comment on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll be bringing a couple of people on today to ask you questions live.
Great.
So with that, let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the Black Lives Matter movement.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make sure that we are not pulling focus from, I would say, the most important movement of our time. What are you doing as an ally and contributing to the Black Lives Matter movement?
I go back a long, long way. My debut, by the way, which nobody but me remembers, which was 1976, 77, was Porgy and Bess. Which was my first Tony nomination. It won the Tony that year. I was the last person hired, the whitest person you've ever seen in your entire life. Up to that time, for 20 years, the only person that had ever directed Porgy and Bess was a white stage manager, a white woman who was tied into the rights. And the company was exhausted from whitewashing. And I was so young and so intimidated and so inspired that, of course, I just said, you have to help me do this. And no director had ever said that to them. So they really did. They opened their hearts. They opened their minds. It changed my entire life. And in my first book that I wrote called Jack Be Nimble, there's a whole section about how this happened and the incredible effect that those Black singers had on my life and on my career. Now, I've kept doing that now for blah, 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 blah years, up through the last two times out, which was, of course, Carousel with the great Josh Henry as Billy Bigelow. That had never happened before.
He was just so brilliant, too.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then in All My Sons, which I did subsequently last season, I had Hampton Fluker and I had several people of color in the company, but I insist on doing it because I keep thinking sometimes I wonder how it comes across. I wonder if the audiences receive it with the generosity that we do, but they must continue to confront it because it's our world now. It's the way we live. And if we don't turn that over and make every effort to sort of equalize the playing field, we're not doing our job. We just aren't. So,
no, there's obviously a huge lack of creatives of color, specifically Black creatives. What can we do to inspire more changes in that department?
So that's an interesting. I mean, if there were a switch to push, we'd push it, wouldn't we? Yeah. I mean, for 25 years, I ran the Globe Theater in San Diego, and as an artistic director, I was in the position of being able to do that as best I could. Sheldon Epps, was my associate director there for a while. That had never happened before. We had a fabulous run, the two of us. And he did Play On under those circumstances, which transferred to, transferred to Broadway. So I've always had a foot in this, and don't understand totally why everybody doesn't. I don't get it. I really don't get it. The quality of performance, the quality of talent available to us on that level is astonishing. And I you know, it's unfair to say it's inevitable, because we're late. And my generation, you know, I feel we should have done more, because we didn't make it happen.
Right.
And the interesting thing about what's going on now is that it's now not going away. I mean, I go back beyond Selma. I go back to, you know, I've done the whole gamut. And after a while, it calmed down. And you thought, yeah, we're making our point, but did we get anywhere? Right. No one's going away now.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I find it so moving. And also, you look at those crowds that are out there, the kids that are on the street. It's multiracial now.
Yes,
in a way that I don't think it ever was before.
Right.
And they're that generation, this particular generation, which grew up this way. Don't forget.
Right.
I seem to be having a stroke here. It's all right. It happens. My generation didn't. I mean, we were always, the door was always being knocked on, and you know, we had to go through all of that to get anybody through the door. The kids that are on the streets now were babies before I was doing that, and they don't know another world. So I think the great thing is there's no proselytizing that's going on the street now. That generation gets it. What doesn't get it is the old white men running the show.
Right.
And you see that desperate grasp for power.
Right.
And the great thing about it is they're panicked.
Right.
And that's what they see. That's what we see in their eyes.
Right. Right.
You know, you can say anything they want to, but their backs are every day up against the wall, and we're not taking it any longer. We're just not allowing it.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all about it. God, I'm all about it.
Thank you. We need as many allies as we can get.
I know.
This first question is from Nick Jones from Miami, Florida. What makes you want to hire an actor?
I'm writing this new book about this process, because I don't think directors know what we do. I know the critics don't.
Right.
I've been praised and condemned for things that had nothing to do with what I've done.
Right.
You know, a lighting designer does something great and I get credit for it. It's not true.
Right.
The longer I do this, the more I do this, the less I pretend to know. It's chemical, I think. I'm fond of saying something leaps between me and an actor in a room when we're working. And I think it's a spark. Frankly, for me, it's a spark of humor. It's the people I work with and the people I want to have dinner with. I think it's that simple. You're spending a lot of time with these people, and it isn't just over there. It's something we do together. It's trust. It's vulnerability. It's mystic. But when it's honest, when it's truthful, it's just basic, I think. And I've made mistakes. We all do. But I've learned you know what? The thing that fascinates me is one of the things we're never told to honor is our gut. How many times in your life have you said, I knew I shouldn't have gone there. I shouldn't have had another drink.
Of course.
I shouldn't have stayed the night. Right. I shouldn't have taken my teeth out, whatever. you know, in other words, on some level, you're an animal that understands survival and instincts and how to protect yourself. And yet no teacher, parents usually don't do this. They don't validate that. And I think that's the basis for what's good about what happens to us. When we connect with somebody, we're connecting on a visceral level. I'm looking for that spark. Yes, of course I want technique. Yes, I want the package, but you know, by this time, that's who you get in the room with you. People who are with experience, or people who've been trained, and you know, off you go. It's how do we reach through and make that connection? And when I do, I just know in my heart that it's right.
That's wonderful. Be funny. I have a viewer.
Yeah, be funny. Absolutely be funny. It's a play. It's called a play. What's the problem?
I have a viewer who wants to come in and ask you a question.
Okay. Hey, Brett.
You're on mute.
I am off mute now.
No, you're not off mute. Good. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Hi, well, my name is Brent. I'm from Frederick, Maryland. I just recently graduated from James Madison University. I have a question, and I was just wondering, looking like at your career and like your resume, it's just so multifaceted, and like you're really versatile as a director. Like you'll go, like you do Catch Me If You Can, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but then you turn around and you do like, you know, like a Tom Stoppard trilogy, and you do Henry IV, which is great. So obviously, like you're at a point in your career where you can, I imagine you can select your projects. I'm just wondering what sparks your interest when something is like pitched to you.
Oh God, that's a good question.
Sorry, my hair is all over the place.
Your hair looks great, Brent.
Mine is too. Mine just keeps going when I do.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I would have answered this differently. But I now think if I read a show, if I read a script or listen to a score or something, if it makes me laugh or makes me cry, it's mine.
Yeah.
If I have a visceral feeling about, oh Jesus, I know what this is about. I know I can do it. I don't care what it is. But I cannot any longer talk my way into something.
Yeah. Is there a time when you did that?
Pardon me?
Is there?
Yes, sure. Earlier in your career, particularly, you'll do whatever, you know, this is how you learn. I'm fond of saying you only learn from failure. That's the weird thing about it.
Yeah.
Success feels good.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you anything.
Really?
No. It just says, look how, yes, I was right. Yeah, big deal. But when you screw it up, or you screw somebody up doing it, you know, none of us remember our rave reviews. We only remember the terrible ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's dumb, because I mean, if you have a career, you've got a lot of good reviews. The only ones I think about are the ones that were stinky, and they hurt. They still hurt.
Really?
But the failure, look, if there's no risk, it's not going to work. So that's the catch-22. That's the trouble. The trouble is we have to put ourselves out without a net. You have to think, I'm scared as hell. And I need help. I need you to help me. I need him to help me. I need help here.
Yeah.
I say that as the director. You say it as an actor.
Yeah.
And then it's trust. And if we're really honest with each other and we're really digging into it, something starts to happen. Yeah. You know what I'm fond of saying? I rehearse for a living. That's what I do.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, yeah, because
if
at the end of the day you got somewhere with the scene with that terrible actress, whatever her name is, that you never knew shouldn't be opposite you, whatever. If you get someplace at the end of the day, you think, oh, I see there's a way through here.
Yeah.
And then you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Am I answering your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yes, you are answering the question.
So as I was saying to Danny earlier, go with your gut.
Yeah.
Respect your gut.
Yeah.
Please understand that when you're in the spotlight, something else starts to happen to you. Other shit comes up in you that is not just intellectual, not just your training.
I guess the same thing happens when actors are picking material to go into audition rooms with, like anything that sort of that you instinctually understand when you hear it or see it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, don't do it because you think you should. Don't do it because somebody else tells you. You've got to have a personal experience.
Okay, perfect. Noted. Thank you so much, Jack, for answering my question.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. You're adorable.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He was just on the Les Mis tour. I have another viewer who wants to come in and ask a question.
Okay. Hey.
Hi, Brent.
God, we're usually on Marco Polo together, aren't we?
I know.
Look at your cans. What are your little cans for?
These are my headphones.
Okay, I have them.
I wasn't going to do it, but then
But I don't know how you.
Well, I love them, but they were like, you have to put them on.
It's intimidating. It's good.
Well, I try. I go the beard and the headphones.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Jack.
You.
You're so right about you only remember your bad reviews. I mean, I sang on a concert once, woefully underprepared. Not me, but like the concert as a whole was sort of under rehearsed, and it was sort of like a thing. And it was prose, like we were just like, okay, I guess we're just gonna go out there and see how it goes. And I remember to this day, this was several years ago, what the reviewer had to say. And of all the things I've been called in my life, he called me namby-pamby.
Wow.
And I was like, ooh. That was a hard pill to swallow.
You can't scrub that one away.
No, you cannot.
And
I was like trying to find a positive spin on it. I was like, you know what? I'm a lot of things, but I'm not goddamn namby-pamby.
No, you're not namby-pamby. I want to tell everybody something about you because this is so cool. Alexander came in for Carousel a couple years ago, and it was one of those moments that a director waits for. He comes in the room. Hello, we sort of knew each other. I mean, not really, not like we know each other now.
No Marco Poloing.
No Marco Poloing. And so, and he proceeds to nail it. And I offered him the part there. No, you didn't accept
Never.
it. You didn't accept it there. Well, there you didn't, because you weren't ready to hear, I want you to do this part.
Correct.
It's so much fun seeing somebody as gorgeous as that come in and effortlessly give everything you want and then be able to say, that'll do, you. I did it once with an actress, can't even remember her name now, but I chased her down the street. I bet you did. It was totally great. I caught her at the corner and I said, I want you to play this part. And she burst into tears. It was really great.
I saved mine for after I left the building.
I know. Well, you cried a lot in front of me too. I remember that.
I do that a lot. Well, I hold that experience from the audition to the closing performance so close to my heart, as you know.
Wasn't it great?
It really was great.
Yeah.
And I have good, I do too. And I made good friends. I had good friends, and I also made good friends. But as an actor, I remember feeling in those rehearsals, just like what capable, strong, and trustworthy hands we were in under you. So it was really an extraordinary experience on a lot of levels. So I have nothing but love and admiration, as you know.
And coming right back at you too. It's one of the great experiences of my life. Really.
Likewise.
I'll have to say this in honesty. When I was in college, I played Mr. Snow.
Yes.
Which we used to laugh about. We used to laugh about this because
we did.
I have the A. Do you want to hear the A?
Yes. Just in case. Just in case.
If you're getting into trouble, you'll hear it from off stage.
Like, ladies and gentlemen, at this performance, the role of Enoch Snow.
No, just that note. Will
just the role of the A natural will be played by. Well, I'm here because they asked me to come ask a question on someone's behalf, so I'm thrilled to do so.
Okay.
So River James from Seattle would like to know, hi, Jack. I know you've got your start as an assistant director. Having done the job, what qualities do you look for when you hire an associate or assistant director?
Oh, I just wrote about this in this book that I'm working on. We think.
Hi, Norbert.
What?
Oh my God!
Oh my gosh!
No, I can't.
Surprise! Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, Jack.
We can hear you. Yes,
You know
which
what? I'm
means
gonna
there'll be
leave
very
it.
little else going on, right?
Hello, darling.
Hi, Norbert.
Am I to finish
What's up?
this?
Hello.
What do I do about
Man, how are you?
I left River hanging here.
Sorry, River.
Norbert, you gotta
Cut
cut your hair. It looks really good.
my
I went to your barber, Jack.
I do my own, clearly.
I was getting, it was getting alarming. I mean, like, I'm right behind you guys. I'm like, I need all the hair clubs for men. I need all of them. But I took 2 weeks ago. It was just so bad. I took a razor that I have with one of those adjusted things, and I just wanted to take off a couple of inches, and I was late, and I just did the one for. And I thought, fuck, I just got to get it all off.
Here's my question. Am I the only person who kneels in front of the toilet to do this? I just want
But
I have tried a series of bowls and towel. I mean, it's a whole operation.
I do the towel, but it's not going to
It
work.
doesn't really do anything because then you got hair in your towel. Yeah.
You got to be over the bowl.
I have knelt in front of a toilet many times.
You all look beautiful. Can we get to River's question, Alex?
Yes,
Oh,
I
sorry.
remember Grievous' question. Just shut up a minute.
I don't know where to look.
Okay. Just shut up for a minute. Let me finish, Alex, and then we'll go on with it. The thing about an associate or an assistant director, well, assistant director, they're different. They're very different things. An assistant is somebody who wants to sit and learn. And you can send them for coffee. They can walk the dog. They'll do anything. They'll do flat work in your apartment. They'll do whatever, right?
Do they trim hair?
They do. Nose hair, particularly in your case.
Good one, Will.
And the ears too. An associate, my theory is they choose you. And I look back, I mean, my first associate director was John Rando, right? I've had a series of great people. And I remember in my case, I went after Ellis Rabb. I wanted to find out what the hell that was and how he worked. And I threw parties for his friends. I did I was a pest. It was unbelievable. I had to be in the room with him. And I don't think that all the people who've worked for me that way have, but Matt August, Adrian Campbell Holt.
So smart.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Ben Klein. I mean, I've got this huge group of people who have been working with me over the years. And in every case, they chose me. They made it impossible for me to say no. And so, River, find your target, go at them, and stick around. And also, the other thing I want to say to everybody is don't come to New York. There's theater all over the country. And, the people here, we're chewing each other's thighs for the job, But out in Seattle, you got great theaters out there. I was 25 years at the Globe in San Diego. There, across the street from me, basically, was Des McAnuff for years with his theater in La Jolla. There was, there's a lot of work out there and a lot of places you can cut your teeth other than thinking, I've got to be in New York. You come to New York when you're ready, don't you think? And that's it. River.
Thank you. Norbert, do you have a question for us?
I have so many questions. None of them pertain to the theater.
No, of course not. We have a string session here.
Yes. I have a question about muting myself on Zoom. I have questions like that. Unmuting myself on Zoom.
Sure.
I have a question about basically
Google Chrome and why it is non-compatible with certain. But for our intents and purposes today, I'm going to ask Jack. I do have a question from. Let's see. It's from
your own.
It's from the public. Jack, Beth Cohen from Alabama.
Good. This is
I'd like to know Alabama. That's where I did my master's at Alabama Shakespeare.
Yes, it did.
You've directed original mega hit musicals like Hairspray, and beautiful and poignant revivals like Carousel. Does the process differ when working with an original musical versus a revival? If so, how?
Well, with an original musical, you're out there in the forest with a machete and a few friends trying to get across the line, you know? And I don't know if.
Are you saying it's guerrilla warfare?
I don't know how it goes
Guerrilla.
down, how the term blood sport goes down in Alabama, but we are basically having to carry our own. Did you see Defy Bloods?
Yeah, the Spike Lee film.
Gotta see. First of all, it's I digress, but I mean it's
Norm has like a real part in it.
Hugely important film.
Can't wait.
Because of the wrong that it addresses that no one talks about.
It's the Vietnam era.
African American participation in Vietnam and what that represented, and the pawn thing. It was just it's unbelievable. But they're carrying their own stuff. And that's what we're doing in a new musical. We're carrying everything with us because no one's ever seen it before. I think when you do a revival, you have to ask yourself, why are we doing this? Do we do it just to do it again? Or is it time to listen to it again? Is there another value that we maybe missed the first time? And sometimes with very vapid, simple things, bell, book, and candle, you suddenly think, well, it's witchcraft, are we going to do it or not? If you look deep into something, you can either find a reason to tell it again or a different way. See, the other thing that drives me crazy is very often when people want to put a musical on stage, that's supposed a movie, they turn to the people who did the movie. No, they like their movie. They want to see the movie sing. That's all they want. You have to figure out why. I mean, when we did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, for instance, Norby,
I remember it well. I remember it.
Yeah. So do I. And we didn't use a template for the film at all.
No, we didn't.
And as a result,
either film. That was a tricky one too, because it had a couple of iterations before it got to this Steve Martin, Michael Caine. Remember, there was the Brando, David Niven film as well. So that was even.
That didn't work.
That didn't work either. You're absolutely right. They started.
Same title?
No, it's called Bedtime Story.
Bedtime Story.
Really, really unfunny comedy.
Are you laughing yet? Let's all go see Bedtime Story.
Yeah, which is straight to sleep. It's
right.
It's a theatrical shot of Ambien.
Wow.
It's a different different skill set, and you have to I think in both cases you have to listen to a lot of people. This is one of the things that people don't understand about musicals. Is and Alex, maybe you would know this too. I don't know if there is a creative event in which more artistic people participate.
You're right.
Than doing the American musical theater. I mean, you start with the book, the score, the orchestrator, the conductor. Then you have all of these people who are moving. I mean, I just did a couple years ago, I did a complete reimagining of The Sound of Music, which I think we're going to do again. And I suddenly realized it was trapped in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And that, who directed The Sound of Music originally?
Who?
Yeah, there you go. Him.
That guy.
Yeah, I can't look names. Just I can't do names anymore. But I'll tell you who directed it. Oliver Smith, the designer, directed it.
Oh,
Sure.
And every production subsequently that was done the way Oliver Smith did it, with the in-one scenes, the little nuns going across, and then boom, another big scene, reveal. We don't do that anymore. We're all into film and television, and so everything has to move. And so I cut all that stuff out. And we had the most wonderful experience because we were suddenly, I looked at this book, by the way. It was not written by some clown. It was written by two great playwrights who had done major Broadway shows.
Yep.
And nobody paid much attention to it. And they sent me the guy. I said, I don't want to do The Sound of Music. Why do I want to do The Sound of Music? They said, would you read it? And I said, sure. And I opened the thing, and it's the first thing I think is 1936. And I thought, I've never seen any version of The Sound of Music that looked like 1936.
Right.
And then if you look at the movie, that's 60s. The clothes are 60s. And the movie isn't even the show. Richard Rodgers hated that movie because
Can I ask Jack a question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
May I? I saw your revival of Carousel, in which, Al, you were so incredible in and unabashedly adored it. I was devastated by that production, and not everyone felt the same. Your production split a lot of people, and it was the same time we were doing My Fair Lady. It was a really interesting time to look at both of those revivals. And I just want to say, for the record, you had the far more difficult task.
Yes.
My Fair Lady is so closely in line with the Shavian progressive leftist feminist thing. Lilium as a source material it's not the same type of a piece of literature. And so I wanted to ask you, besides the domestic violence, some of the attitudes toward women, what you said, there's got to be a reason. What was your reason? In My Fair Lady, we got to ride this. Bart did an amazing job, but that show was just ripe for the picking for the Me Too movement. Right. You guys did not have that sort of, New York kind of liberal kind of comfort zone that we got to kind of sit up there at Lincoln Center. And therefore, I thought the work was for me, fascinating to watch. The darkness of it, the strangeness of that production, I thought was amazing. I loved so much about it, but tell me a little bit why.
I'm so glad to get the chance to talk about this. We never talk about it.
No, and it was the event of that theater season, and it wasn't lost on me. I looked at both of those shows and thought, my God, we're doing these revivals. You guys were kind of like the bastard stepchildren. And I'm going, it's not even close. Look at this, talk about apples and oranges.
Well, first of all, please understand that as the director, I was given the cast. Scott Uden wanted Josh Henry, and he wanted Jesse. Well,
bravo for him. I mean,
you bet.
The principals, hand down. Al, you, Margaret, to Margaret Collin, it was astonishing. Best sung. Everyone agrees it was the best sung Carousel in forever. But I also really connected to the utter strangeness and eeriness of the whole design and look of it. So what were your thoughts?
Well, I want to just say this because no one's ever mentioned this. When we got our reviews across the board, they were very respectful and basically wonderful. Sort of. That show is, from Lillian forward, has always made people uncomfortable. And when I started prepping it, I was having a lot of trouble with heaven. Because I thought to myself, first of all, what am I going to do if I have a black Billy? I can't have a white guy in heaven being good to him. So, I went after Douglas.
Oh gosh, right.
And
So good. So unbelievably
he
good.
didn't want to do it. He said, there's no part here. And I said, you have to trust me. I'm going to make a part here for you, and it's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And we had all sorts of references. We had all this thing with angels. What is that Fassbinder film with the angels up on the monuments in Germany?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking
Wings of Desire.
Desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the angels are
that's
in,
so interesting, Jack.
the angels are in raincoats.
Yeah.
And they walk down and the people don't see them. And I thought,
Brilliant, amazing film. Yeah.
I believe in this, by the way. I think this is how this works. So we went to work on this. And we put in our version, Carousel started with the Star Keeper. He was the first person on stage. And he started the show. And then he followed Billy, because I thought to myself, why is he cutting Billy such slack?
Mm-hmm.
Billy's dead when he meets him in the script, and he's already screwed up. And the guy says, go back, and he goes back and he screws it up, and he does it again. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? Why is Billy getting, what is there some sort of karmic debt that's being paid? So we wove this whole thing. And then the other thing was with Justin Peck said to me one day, come to the studio. I want to show you something I've done about heaven. And I thought, what? And he did this thing with all these dancers where people were walking in and walking out and all that kind of shit. And he made a heaven that I'd never seen before. And in doing so, I thought, let's go there. So we did a different heaven. We did an entirely different interpretation. We had this black Star Keeper that was obviously rooting for this guy who walked into scenes and stood next to him. I'm sorry, I can't open the door. I'm an international broadcast. People don't get it. And, I can't stop my life. So anyway, nobody ever mentioned it. No review.
So fascinating. You say Wings of Desire.
You would have thought
you succeeded.
That we slightly redid Nicholas Heitner's version.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. You succeeded tremendously then. That was even a reference point or a visual or any kind of inspiration, because it did. It had that alienating but absolutely mesmerizing effect. I loved it. I wept.
We did too, didn't we, Alex?
I loved every minute of it. And I would say, like, I remember the first time I saw Carousel, having had other than knowing some of the songs, not really knowing the story, and seeing it in a production I was in non-equity theater when I was 20 to track. That's a whole other show. But anyway, I sat in the audience during tech and watched as Billy woke up from being dead. And I was like, what's going on? Like, it felt irresponsible that there was no acknowledgement of how strange this is, to Norbert's point about like how odd just as an idea it is, let alone uncomfortable, to use your word, Jack, which I think is great. And one of the things I loved about our production was this exact thing of like, okay, well, here's this huge back third of the play that nobody really pays attention to.
No.
And you just sort of go, this is how we're going to contextualize this evening for our hero. So here we go. Yeah. And it sort of, for my money, inside of it permitted like a cracking open that I think was sort of more directed towards where I think the intent of the idea of faith and the idea of rebirth and the idea of forgiveness and the afterlife. I just think all of those things became in the production more in the foreground in a really powerful and sort of mystical way.
My favorite moment in the whole thing was one that no one paid any attention to at all, and it's perfectly fine, It's just before the murder happens, before the thing, where Billy and Jigger come out of the orchestra pit as if they're haul themselves up and they're wet. And then from nowhere comes the star keeper, and he sits down between them. And they're having this conversation, and he's thinking, this isn't going to work. I can't, as an angel, I can't do anything. And I just loved it because it was fraught with tension, and the star keeper never had a word, doesn't speak in the scene, isn't even in the scene as it's written.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, we're playing fast and loose with this thing.
Yeah.
Just loved it. And no one has ever mentioned this entire look at the show was completely revolutionary.
It was. And
we were praised for a lot of things and not that. Now you explain that to me. Is that because of the biracial casting, do you think?
Perhaps. I also felt that you found a really interesting way. I think we're in a new age and time, and so staging violence, choreographing violence, blocking violence, it's an intimate, difficult thing to do. If you give it short shrift, you become you
don't believe it.
You don't believe it, and you become cowardly. If you go too far, you're exploitative. You are, torture happy. It's a very fine line. I thought you guys did a great job. How do we find that combination? This isn't real, but this emotionally and psychologically is 100% real.
And then this is this other thing we got to mention, because this was the gift.
It's hard. I mean, I can't think of a harder show to direct. I think.
Wait, in the middle of this.
Every graduate student should be given.
Renee Fleming.
Yeah, right.
In the middle of this, Renee Fleming walks over from the Metropolitan Opera. And she says to me at one point, I'm talking about her entrance at the top of,
June. Yeah.
It's busting out, right? And she whispered to me and she said, I just have to explain one thing. When I work at the opera, I sit in my dressing room. And then I just sit there. And eventually there's a knock at the door, and I open the door, and it's the stage manager. And he takes me by the arm, and he takes me backstage, and he takes me to the wings, and we face out in the thing, and he's counting, and he pushes me, and I go out on stage.
That's exactly how I work.
She said, tell me about it.
Yes, I know, Norbert. I know.
Except you don't get off stage. That's the difference. But she said, I've never made an entrance in my life. Like, I don't know what you're saying.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
It was, and Alex? She fell in love with the company, with the experience.
Oh, yeah.
She was heartbreaking to me.
I totally agree.
No, it was
the most electric silence ever was the first time we sat in the rehearsal room and she sang "You'll Never Walk Alone."
She was amazing.
Everybody sort of was like,
"Oh my God!"
It was
Norbert and Alex, while I have you guys, I want to ask Jack another question from a viewer, and that's what makes you want to rehire an actor, Jack?
Well, yes, Jack. What makes you want to rehire an actor?
I'm listening.
Hang on. Down. Well, this is why we work together. We're experiencing it right now. This is the way we work. I mean, Norbert and I have done 2 huge, big ass musicals. Alex and I are going to do more. But it's this kind of open where they know that I listen to them. Mm-hmm. They know that if they have something to bring to the table, I'm going to use it. I know that if I can say anything in front of them and have behaved in a way no normal person who works for a living should, right? I'm totally unedited. So if you feel you can get in the baby pool with the other babies, that's why you want to do it. I can't wait to work with these guys again.
Ditto.
Fortunately,
likewise.
No, I had to say that because you showed up. It was sweet.
That's Jack right behind me. Jack, there you are. On right behind me is a poster of "Catch Me If You Can." That was our last day in the rehearsal space.
I didn't see that.
And that photo on the wall.
Wow.
Right there. That's all of us in our last day of rehearsal.
So
You
great.
want to know the story about that show?
Oh, well, how
Let
much
me
time do we have left for the program?
briefly, Scott, and while we were out on the road with Hairspray, with the national company, Scott and Mark brought in a cassette with 4 or 5 songs, and they had the songs written, and I think this is one of the best scores ever put on Broadway.
Mm.
And as great as those boys are, and they're great, that score is so undervalued, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Because it's phenomenal.
It-
And they said, we want to do this 60s television version with a band on stage, the way Sinatra did it and Tony Bennett, where the whole evening is that. And you think, what a great idea. And then I had to do Your World, Narby, FBI.
Yeah.
And the minute I realized I couldn't put you in that set, I
Right.
knew I was screwed.
Yeah.
Because the show had, don't forget, Spielberg did a movie and a half to try to tell that story. I think that movie is still going on somewhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's so much story to tell.
It's what I learned, what we all learned. It's that great problem of travel
Yeah.
on stage in a narrative. Shakespeare is
The master.
the best, right?
Yes, but there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
That's right.
So we can go from Elsinore to Vienna or wherever with the turn of a page or with a short thing. So a narrative that is about a chase, that is about geographical momentum, is so hard to theatricalize.
Well, it's in particular, and to your earlier point, Jack, it's particularly hard in a musical because it requires musical acknowledgement on some level, and now you just added 5 minutes to your show just to go from Boston to San Francisco.
We all went out to Los Angeles to meet with Spielberg originally.
Oh, really?
Incredible. And it was wonderful because he was so dear and so excited and so enthusiastic. And he was telling me all the things that it should be. And I've never been in a room with Steven Spielberg, so I'm a little tongue-tied. I got over it. And finally, I said, Steven, you do know I can't put a chase on stage. And he was absolutely stunned. He said, what do you mean? I said, there's Jerry Mitchell. That's a musical number. The chase will be a number.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't do that.
Really difficult. Let me say this. I'm just going to kiss your booty for just one more second. What cojones you have, Jack O'Brien? That's why I keep getting fascinated with your resume and what cojones? Who a chase musical, a cat and mouse chase musical that spans years and goes up, Carousel, this bizarre avant-garde really piece, on and on to the classical works. The last thing I did with Jack, Jack had has this dream of doing. Talk about cojones. We did a 4.5-hour reading of Don Juan in Hell and Man and Superman. The whole thing, just because he wanted to hear it out loud. Like, he wants to stage that shit. I did it. The cojones is amazing. You're and you must be scared. I know you must lose sleep. I know you must.
No, I'm not scared. I'm not scared.
But you must stress like we all do as we get closer, and when things aren't matching up. We've all had big bombs and huge successes, and at some point the stream starts to split, and it seems inevitable which way you're going. But you keep on taking these assignments that, I'm sorry, but for lesser directors would send them
quivering.
Well, I am certainly the luckiest guy of my generation. I had a postgraduate education, the likes of which no one in the theater has ever had.
Yes.
John Houseman, Ellis Rabb, Ava Le Gallienne, Alan Schneider. These were the people whose notes I took.
Yes.
And also, then I went for 10 years as a guest to Craig Knoll in San Diego. And by the time the 70s were over, I'd done more Shakespeare than anybody in my generation.
Exactly.
What's the problem?
And getting back to regional theater, that's in your blood, because I came up through that system too, through both my degrees. That's how I got my ECRI card. I worked all over. And in the regional theaters, man, there's that beautiful equity. There's no discrimination between, Rodgers and Hammerstein and Sam Shepard. We have to do it all. We really
when I was running the Globe, Steve Sondheim came out to do Into the Woods, and Neil Simon came out to do Rumors. And people were saying, "Why are you having Neil Simon?" And I said, "You're alive with Moliere, and you don't want him to come to your theater."
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe we just lose those biases that says, "Oh, we don't do that," or "Who wants to touch that?" and say, "Let's see what happens." It's that big. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And that's at the spirit of your work, Jack.
I would say I agree with you, Norbert. And I would say specifically what makes you very special, Jack, is the deep love you have for the people doing the thing with you. Like, I don't mean them as personalities, although obviously that Venn diagram overlaps, but I think you have a deep appreciation for everyone's piece of the puzzle. And I don't know that that's true of and I've worked with a lot of wonderful directors. I just don't know that that's true for all directors. I think there are directors who sort of do lots of different things very well, but I think there's something that is galvanizing about you in a room that makes you want to be as good at your own job as you are at yours. And I think that's a really special gift.
I concur, because the thing that nobody talks about, and this is just the truth, I don't care how cynical it sounds, most directors do not like actors. They don't like us. We are an impediment. We are something to get done with and out of the way and set. It's in your bones. You can't fake it. You know exactly what I mean, Al. And I even get it. I get it.
Yes.
Totally.
I love actors.
It's another crew member. And that's
evident.
Thing that distinguishes you. You are endlessly fascinated by. You watch as an audience. You have ultimate respect. You let us fall on our asses. You slap our hands when we're getting naughty, and all of that. But you love to watch the process of the actor.
Well, because you're interested in humanity, Jack. I mean, and I think that makes people operate at the highest level. And I just think that's the whole point.
It's getting a little wet, isn't it?
This is coming off a little too.
I didn't pay these people anything.
Yeah. Well, with that,
I gotta go.
All right.
I gotta go.
No, it's Bart Shear offering me a better job. I gotta go. Oh my God, it's Mantello. Never mind.
Take that call.
Norbert, thank you guys so much.
I'm only kidding.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, boys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Right? We done?
No, Jack, I have a couple more questions for you.
Okay, great.
Almost.
Aren't they?
Are you presently working on any projects during quarantine, and what has that process been like?
Yes, I'm doing two. As I said, I've just finished a draft of the book, which I've sent off. Publisher has not responded. I'm not too worried. It's too early, but it's the working title is Jack in the Box, or How to Goddamn Direct. and it's about this process, which I don't think even we as directors understand fully. And then it's a lot of the people that I've been working with, Stoppard and Jerry Lewis and George Abbott. And I was the last person to work with George Abbott when he was 105.
Wow.
I got stories to tell, Right. So I've got that going. Then there's a musical I'm not allowed to talk about yet. That is the funniest musical I have ever experienced in my life.
Oh, I cannot wait.
And it's country music.
Wow.
With two of the biggest country music stars writing the score.
Wow.
And Robert Horn, who won the Tony for Tootsie, doing the book. And we are in love with each other. And we're working to get it into workshop this fall. I'm praying for a vaccine.
It'll
Yeah, it will. It will.
I'm
busy as hell.
Good. You have to stay busy. You have to keep moving forward.
I know I'm great.
I have one more viewer with a question for you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi there.
I'm Amaya White. I'm from Old Bridge, New Jersey. And my question is, what will you do to ensure that future creative teams or productions of Hairspray will be inclusive of BIPOCs, since the show addresses the stories of Black people as well as white people?
Look, I mean, we on our side of the ledger who created that show know exactly why it worked. It worked because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to do Hairspray, you got to do Hairspray. It's about those cultures. It's about the tender green shoots at that time that were reaching toward each other. We have no tolerance for people making money to do the show because they can't do it the way it's written. Why would you do it? Mm-hmm. It's always been a subversive piece, starting with John Waters putting Divine in as the mother. That's subversive. Mm-hmm. And while we had creative control, and all the time we were always saying, got to have a man play this. Well, now 18 years later, we got RuPaul, and there's a whole generation mm-hmm. of wonderful performers who are in drag, who changed the whole surface and the way that young people even think about that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got Nina West going out as that's who's going to do the next version.
Wow.
And it is fantastic.
Yeah.
So much heart, so much excitement. She totally gets it. And so, we're protecting the thing that we identified with, which was that spark. Mm. It wasn't far enough in 18 years ago the way it is now. Mm. But we lit our own fuse, and we are holding on to that fuse. And as long as there's breath in our body, you kids are going to have a share in the pie.
Thank you.
So are you an actress?
Yes, I am.
You certainly are. You're so beautiful.
She's currently at Montclair State, and she's brilliant.
You look at that face.
Yeah.
You have no problem, sweetheart. You're going to work for the rest of your life.
Thank you.
Well, it's sort of your time, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of goodwill coming your way, and a lot of work.
Thank you.
I look forward to it. I want to work with you.
I would love that.
Okay. I'll send you a headshot resume.
Okay, please do.
Amaya, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Jack, how can we follow you on social media?
I'm a Twitter person.
Okay. I think we have your handle. Let's see.
Yeah, O'Brien Directs. I've been absent for a while because I've been doing other things, and I suddenly realized there's a great deal to talk about, so I'm going to be on a lot. I never got to the other branch because I'm just too old.
No, that's no such thing.
Well, no, I'm too much of a Luddite. I can't really. I like to deal with people.
Right.
Anyway, I'll be better. I promise. I'll be everywhere these days.
Okay. Well, Jack, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
It's been fun, Danny. Thank you for having me. It was a great afternoon.
Thanks for being here.
You bet.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please tune in tomorrow for The Great Not So White Way, featuring Danielle Fulton and Jared Dixon. Next this Friday, we're joined by Otterbein and Kent State University. Then on Monday, we are joined by Bart Shear, and Wednesday, choreographer Lauren Lataro. If you are not following us on Instagram, please do so. Those handles should be just below in a second. The Growing Studio and Playbill. I'm signing off. Thank you so much for joining us.